Okay, so I feel the need to make this video. I was watching a fucking thing on YouTube. I don't know, I'm 4 minutes in, and it doesn't matter what it is. It's about Watchers, Nephilim, and Lilith and demons and shit. But it made me think of this. It's basically you need to get something that I'm. This is something that I'm almost for sure and for certain of. Hear me out. There is no heaven or hell. Not a literal one. Uh, Heaven and hells are places that you put yourself when you do things that are against your own code. It's a thing here on earth in your own mind. This is what I see when I see the universe. Is like everything here on this planet, you, me, the ants, the cat, everything has a soul and is a being on a journey. Some of those journeys end in you eating them. Some of those journeys end being buried in a box in my backyard because you were a fucking bitching cat. Some of those journeys end with you dying 80 years old surrounded by family. And some of those journeys end with you dying on a battlefield. But the thing that you ought to get is God cared for you when you were the ant. And what I mean by that is like the point of this place is to mature souls. In my opinion. That's why you keep coming back here. The ant dies. Does he come back as an ant? I would say that very much depends on what the ant learned. If the ant learned everything that there is to learn in ant world, I would say he gets to go to something else. I don't know what. I don't know what the order is. For all I know, I might get to be an ant next. You might get to be an ant next. Doesn't really fucking matter. You'll be happy wherever you are because you'll be with God. God is all around you and among you. All times. It's like the very thing that binds the universe together, man. There is some sort of a life force that powers all living beings here that I do not fully understand myself. And anyone who says they do is a fucking idiot. I've seen things that should have been dead that were still alive by sheer will that made full recoveries. I've seen people that only had half a fucking body live. You know? What makes a man do that? That's some God shit. That's some like... I don't know. Point is, try to be a good person. Have fun while you're here. That's one thing that, like, shit, man. Every fucking religion on earth gets a key fundamental thing wrong, and it's that this place is meant for you to enjoy. And I think part of the reason that some souls travel as many worlds as they do, see as many places as they do, is because their idea of paradise is fighting. I think God gives you what you want. Basically, if you wish to have combat, He gives you combat. It may not be in the time, place, or body of your choosing or whatever, but like, fuck, man. God damn. I think this is much of what is going on in the world, really, is all of these stories about Ragnarok and the battle at the end of times and whatever. I think there's some reality in this. I think we're all here. I think there's more of us here now than there ever have been because of the number of, like, population on the planet. And by us, I mean people that continue to fight. They live, they die, they live again, they train up again, they fight again. Like, there's a whole bunch of people that do that shit. And I think these people are like some of the ones that like live in hell and are slash or are demons. Oh, but like there's a good half of us that are the angels, so to speak, that we're doing the same thing. But, you know, there's people doing Genghis Khan shit, and then there's people doing Gandalf shit. There's a big difference between them. I think that's where the whole idea of angels and demons come from, is that, like, I showed up here like this. You should get that. You should get that at 3 years old, we would have had a very similar conversation. I had these conversations with churches all across fucking Oklahoma at one point in my life. Where basically they told me what religion was, and then I told them what reality was. And we disagreed. Like, okay. And the funny part is my grandfather, if anything, my views on religion made his better. I told him what I thought. He told me what he thought, and we met somewhere in the middle, kinda. Like, he saw my points, which my points are basically that they're lying to all of us. We're being lied to by Pharisees and Sadducees. And I think the truth that is hidden in the Bible that they don't want you to know about, that Jesus originally conquered an empire with, is some Buddhist shit, which is basically that you are here to enjoy and to have a journey and to have experiences and to be a human and to grow food and cook food and raise animals and kill animals and fucking everything else, make things, enjoy things, have sex, have love, have relationships. That, I guarantee you, if we had Jesus fucking Christ himself here talking to you, he'd tell you very similar shit. And like a lot of the things that are sins in the Bible are things that make your life not productive, that they don't want to explain why, because explaining why doesn't help make it better. It really doesn't. You know, if I told you don't be gay, it's a lot better of a thing than explaining how basically gay relationships never result in children. That's what the Bible's about. It's assuming that in order for you to be happy, you're going to have children, which I put it to you, for most people, is essentially true. It's essentially true. You need to pass on your shit or whatever, and I don't know. I kind of view the world as my child in some ways. Like, that's the difference between me and most people. Eventually, I figure the world will catch around to what my line of thinking. If they don't, I don't care. You know? From my line of thinking, there's 1,000 fucking planets in this place, man. Or more. And that's just in our fucking, like, galaxy. Much less, you know, the universe or whatever. Like, there's many, many places that your soul could go when this one ends. And to be honest, I kind of want to see what a nuclear war looks like. We've never really seen one. I'm curious. It's gonna be fucking horrific. I'm guessing that it's a way, way less horrific thing than people imagine. Hiroshima and Nagasaki, we literally nuked cities. I kind of think that such a thing would be a really limited thing. It would be. The thing that I see happening with the nukes is basically us throwing tactical nukes back and forth at each other like hand grenades. I don't know what that does to the planet. That'll be interesting to see. I think a lot of what's going on with the planet now has to do with our fucking nuclear excursions in the fucking 1950s and 60s. I don't think Hiroshima and Nagasaki and the tests in the desert before World War II did much to our planet. I think some of the massive bombs set off by us and the Russians, especially the massive bombs that we set off in the stratosphere just to see if we could break the fucking planet, you know, I think some of those might be causing some of the havoc we see now. And my theory on what we're watching happening, basically, is either we're entering a period of just famine for some reason, control the planet kind of thing to control our population, or we're entering an ice age and the whole world is about to change quite a bit. And if I'm right, like, all of the rivers are going dry. Here's the thing I would say about that is, if the sea level were to suddenly be 400 feet lower, the rivers would all be dry, I would think. Maybe I'm wrong. But the thing that would precede that happening would be the fucking rivers going dry, no? If the ocean level starts falling, I'm going to start wondering where the water's going. And there's a couple, like, answers for that, possibly. And that it could be being banked in fucking clouds and it's all about to fall at once and shit. And, like, if so, that's the shit that happened before the fucking flood, man. Like, a lot of people don't get that some of the weather shit that we're watching happen right now, some of this shit in the ancient Indian epics is exactly what they said happened before Noah's flood, quote unquote, whatever you want to call it. I think in reality, Noah's flood was a couple of very major floods that happened in a short period, relatively, like within a couple thousand years of each other, that happened like 10,000 years ago. That's like some foggy fucking memory of, hey, remember when we all had to be on boats? Didn't that suck? And, like, I don't think the whole world's going to flood. What I think those stories are about is, at the end of the Ice Age, we had a 400-foot rise in sea level. People build their cities and shit near the coasts. Nobody farms at high altitude or whatever. So if you make the sea level 400 feet lower, eventually everyone is going to be living down on the coasts again, because that's where the water is. And then eventually, when that goes back the other way, all that shit gets flooded out. Meanwhile, some of us still live in the mountains and shit, and people had some boats and, like, you know, they make it to land and they start new civilizations, and everybody has flood stories and whatever. And, like, some of the stories you need to get, like Noah's flood and shit, that's one of several fucking flood stories, and I don't even think it's the original one. A lot of our biblical shit is basically half remembered Sumerian legends told by Abraham to his children. And you can tell. And, like, this is the thing about the Bible, is it's the thing that keeps surviving the fall of empires, because it teaches you to go be a prepper, basically. I think we go in big cycles too. And I don't just mean like build an empire and fall. I mean, like, we build empires and build empires and build empires and build empires and build empires until we get to a point where we can technologically destroy a significant portion of the planet. Then we wage a fucking hellacious war, and then it starts over again. I put it to you that, like, the movie Aladdin could be set in a post-apocalyptic future. Most people don't get that. But go watch that movie and realize that that is within the realm of possibilities of your future. The reason that I say that is everybody thinks, oh, technology, whatever. Well, like, technology depends on a lot of shit, right? Do you know how to make that shit? I know how to make this shit. In reality, if I were to be dropped off of the fucking technological tree right now, I would be stuck in or about the year 1900 or so. But that's considerably better than most of y'all. Most of y'all without your technology are fucking useless, basically. Like, the only thing that makes me, in the year 1900 compared to most people is the fact that I'm a knife-making, blacksmithing gunsmith. Like, I can work on cars, too. I don't like to. But all of that shit is, it's one thing to be able to work on a Honda or whatever. It's another thing to be able to make your own car out of pipes and wheels and shit and put an engine in it and, like, Mad Max shit. And that's kind of what I always wanted to do. So, like, that was to the level of interest I had in cars. And then, like, the guns and knife making thing, like, it's a lot cheaper thing to do than building fucking Mad Max tanks. Easier, too. It's less work. Well, we've kind of veered off of the subject of this now. But, yeah, this is my point. Is basically that it's not that there's a heaven or a hell. That's not the point of the journey at all. And, like, the fact that religious people try to make the point of your journey here on Earth being about physical things that you do on Earth and not about you growing as a spiritual being. Like, this is the lie they're telling you. And basically, there's a whole bunch of people that run this place now that think there is no spiritual side of anything. I think that basically Joe Rogan was fucking right as fuck when he said that if you want to run this place, you should have to do like 10 acid trips or something. You know, like 10 might be a little extreme. I remember what he said, it might have been 3. But I think that should be a requirement for you to fucking hold public office, really. And the reason that I say that isn't like, oh, you see God or whatever, but like, it changed my perspective in such a profound way. And made me see this universe more for what it is than anything I've ever done. You know, that's kind of my conclusion, really. It's not that, you know, the LSD makes you go see God. It's that you're on a spiritual journey. And some substances that are chemical and pharmaceutical in nature can allow you peaks beyond the veil, so to speak. That's what I would say. I'd be very interested to do DMT, but one of my concerns with such things is like you talk to entities there. Are those entities God? Probably not. But from what I understand, what they basically talk to you about is being a better person, which does seem like some God shit. Like, this is kind of my lecture to most people is, first off, you should get that this is not your first trip here. Second thing you should get is, since it's not your first trip here, maybe you should go have some fun. Maybe you should live life and have some experiences and whatever. Like, if you're working a dead end job to fucking pay the bills and whatever, like, rethink your whole shit. Figure out a way to have no bills. If that's living out of a van, then do that. Like, that's what I'm getting ready to go do for the fun of it at some point. I really want to have my van rigged out all the way and save up some pocket money. And I'm just going to go out to like Arizona and free camp for at least 6 months. That's right now I'm kind of saving up and building towards that. Slash preparing for the end of the world. You know, it's all kind of one thing. You know, my van rig and being a fucking mobile, I don't know what to call it. I'm trying not to use the word hermit. Nomad? Yeah, I'm going to be a nomad. I think that's a legitimate plan to survive what we're going through. I focus a lot on tactical gear and guns and shit because it's fun. And honestly, I think defense is a very high priority for me, at least. Not to mention that most of my defensive shit is meant to also be field equipment to get through day-to-day life. So, like, my pistol isn't, you know, a fucking, oh my god, we're gonna fucking go fight in Iraq pistol. It's a fucking 1911 that it'll do most things that I need a fucking pistol to do. That's kind of how I am with a lot of shit. That's kind of how I am, I guess, with religion, too, is I take what I like and I make my own. And I started doing that mainly because they lie to us. They lie to us constantly. If you don't think that they lie to us, go fucking watch Randall Carlson and Joe Rogan talk about anything, and then go realize that the Vatican has a secret vault of shit that they've been hiding since the Middle Ages. I don't know what the fucking truth is, man, but it's not what you're being fucking told. My symbol that I put on everything is this Buddhist ship's wheel. You see there on the 1911? The Wheel of Pain. It symbolizes that everything keeps going around. That's why we look at the fan. It's kind of its own wheel of pain. You know? You live, you die, you live again. 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 You live, you die, like, for all eternity. And like, I think this is the gift of man, is that you get to experience it all. And my guess would be, when you die, if there is a God, it's looking at what you did and guiding you to the next experience. Whatever that is. You know, maybe this is just some crazy shit that trans girls and soldiers believe. Because, like, this is, like, some definite fucking, like, Mad Max Fury Road warboy beliefs. But at the same time, I think it's pretty much true. You should probably strive not to get hurt, but at the same time, you should realize that, like, life's a journey, and sometimes on your journey, shit happens. You know, go fucking read Lord of the Rings, or fucking watch Star Wars. Go read Joseph Campbell. Joseph Campbell, A Hero with 1,000 Faces. Joseph Campbell, what was it? Something about myth. Like, this is half of my problem, is that I'm entirely too well read, and that some of the shit that I read was like Tolkien and Joseph Campbell and C.S. Lewis and fucking all of these great fucking religious thinkers, really, of